Let's go ahead and get started. Brief introduction of who I am. I'm with Action Coach Bluegrass. I'm a small business coach. I'm also a certified employee engagement advisor. We run a program called Engage and Grow that works to get teams all pointed in the same direction, working together, and that improves productivity, reduces turnover, and it's something that is very much needed in the US workforce right now. And especially with us not being able to see each other, it's become even more critical. Just a little bit about my background. I have run a virtual company where I had over 100 employees remote. In my last position, I was the director of human resources for a company where the bulk of our workforce was overseas. So I have a little bit of experience dealing with remote teams. The HR part is also what has fueled my passion about keeping employees engaged and making sure that we're taking care of them, especially now when you can't necessarily see people. Right now at Action Coach Bluegrass, we're doing a number of webinars and workshops, complimentary. We really just want to help businesses get through this. So if you like this one, you want to look for others, please go to our website. So let's jump on in. So this is something that I haven't experienced before. Probably none of you have either. This is going to be a real defining moment, not only for your employees' careers, but for their lives. So how we navigate this is going to be remembered for years to come. It's going to have an impact. How you are responding is going to affect behavior. It's going to affect your brand. It's going to affect your employees' productivity and their commitment to you. Your employees' concerns have never been more important than they are these couple of weeks. And at this point, we're 4 weeks into this? People are getting tired. They've got a lot of concerns. Employees are worried about their well-being. They're worried about financial stability. They're worried about their health and their health care. So these are significant concerns facing your employees and probably facing you as well. So about 6 months ago, this is what we all thought working from home probably looked like. The reality, well, looks a little more like this. That is actually my daughter's cat, but please don't be surprised if my cat Calypso shows up and says hello. She has a real knack for doing that. For some homes, probably looks like this a little bit. I'm grateful I'm not dealing with small children on that. This information surprised me. I found this Gallup poll where people were asked, once the restrictions are lifted, what do you want to do? And 59% of them said they wanted to continue to work remotely. That surprised me. Only 41% said, yeah, I cannot wait to get back in the office. The reason I wanted to bring this up is this isn't going to go away. Working remotely is something that people are going to want to continue to do. As you know, your body doesn't work unless your brain and your heart are both working together. You've got to have both parts. Your organization is the same way. And you can divide employee needs into these two categories. So things like facts are very important to your employees. They want to know what's going on. They want to know where everything stands. If it's not a fact, if you don't know it to be true, don't share it. Especially now, there's just way too much misinformation out there. Your employees want to know if they can rely on you and if they're going to have a job next week. The technology, as I said, I'm having my challenges this morning. We didn't have time to ramp up for this. So people who thought they had a VPN, great. They didn't expect the VPN to have 100 people on it. People who had internet at home for email and Facebook thought, oh, I'm okay. But all of a sudden they're sending massive spreadsheets back and forth. And there are a lot of people who have had to increase their internet capacity. These are things we just didn't plan for. There are people facing a lot of expenses right now. If people had to upgrade their internet, that's a pretty big expense. You also have people, I don't know about you, but I don't have a landline anymore. So I'm relying 100% on my cell phone. If some of your employees have limited minutes on their cell phone, that's going to be a big expense for them. So make sure that you have a policy on whether or not that's going to be covered and that it's communicated to your employees. The other thing is expectations, and that's something that you're going to hear me repeat a few times. Because people are working remote, it's really important to be very clear on what it is they should be doing, what the quality level is, what the deadlines are, and we'll go into that a little bit more. On the heart side of things, some people call these the soft skills. Your communication has to be clear, and you have to do it regularly. You've got to stay in touch with your employees and make sure they're staying in touch with each other. On the engagement piece, now more than ever, your employees want to know why they're doing what they're doing. All the attention is on the virus. You need to make sure they understand that their job is still relevant and that it's important that they do their job. They want to know who's in charge. If you're being wishy-washy, you're sending a very poor message to them about what to expect going forward. I'm not saying that you have to be a dictator, but you do have to show some leadership. And finally, your culture. Right now is the time to be positive. If your culture was always, we have the best customer service in the industry, that doesn't change. And make sure your employees know that. If you have a very strong culture about honesty, that's going to continue. That needs to continue right now, but it needs to be communicated to your employees. So whatever the values are of your organization, now's the time to be repeating them and make sure that they're enforced. So what kinds of things are on your employees' minds? Right now, people are assuming the worst. So be as transparent as you can be about the business and about their jobs. And sometimes that might be, I don't know, but here's what I can tell you. Obviously, childcare is an issue for a lot of people. Not only have they had to provide childcare, but a number of them are now teachers. And there was a reason my children weren't homeschooled, so I'm kind of grateful that I'm not in that situation right now, and God bless the parents that are. There are a lot of health concerns, healthcare coverage, especially as people are losing their jobs, and people are feeling very, very isolated. You've got to be able to ask people, how are you? Are you okay? Just those simple questions will make a big difference. You may not be in a position to provide a lot of health care for them or get them to a hospital or whatever needs to happen, but maybe you can have some aspirin delivered or something. But the important thing is to just check in and say, how are you? And as we mentioned, they want to know, is their job still important? I'm sitting here at home alone. I don't know if there's value in what I'm doing. And it's up to you to reassure people that yes, there is value. Compassion is a tool that we haven't used a lot here in the United States because we equate it with being weak. It's actually a sign of strength when you can manage with compassion. Your communication needs to be intentional and it needs to be frequent. So again, share facts. If it's something you don't know, say you don't know, be honest, and then see if you can work together to find the answers. Pay attention to people's state of mind. Make sure that you're connecting with people daily. It can be brief. It can be a phone call. It could be a text. Video's better, but just check in with people. Make sure that they're safe. Make sure that they have what they need. to get through in this moment. Sometimes what people need more than anything right now is just to talk to another human being. Keep checking on your people. If people have children at home, try and be flexible on your scheduling. 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. may not be the best time for them to work because they're dealing with their children. They may do better 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. This is going to be a challenge for your team. If at all possible, try and use a shared calendar so everybody knows who's working when. Typically, in a remote work environment, we've tracked hours that people were logged on. That's one way to do it, but it may not work in this situation. If that's the case, be tracking output, not hours. You're looking for results. Remote workers need a lot more guidance on what to work on. And check my notes here. So you want to be very, very specific. So prior to COVID-19, 50% of US workers said they didn't know what is expected of them at work. So you've got to be very clear. This is what you should be doing. This is the quality standard that it should be done. And this is the deadline. Those kinds of things, those messages are going to have to be repeated. But you need to get very granular, very specific, and then hold people accountable to it. It's just like, again, with your child, if you threaten them with punishment and then you don't do it, they aren't going to listen to you. Not only are you going to need to set expectations and repeat that, you're going to have to share the what and why. Why are we doing this for this customer? What is it that needs to be done? How does this fit into the big picture? Because you don't have that office interaction, that regular chit chat about, oh, how's this project going? And you hear other things about, oh, this customer needs this. That's all gone away. So it's up to you to be sharing that information. Be sure to recognize achievements, celebrate the wins. If somebody gave great customer service, if somebody solved a problem for the team, recognize that person and recognize them publicly. Do it on a team meeting, do it on a chat or an email, but make sure that you are celebrating the wins. This is a great time to be doing some online training. If that's something that you've kind of had on the back burner, then maybe this is a good time for you to be looking at that. Making an investment in your employees right now sends a very, very strong message that they are valued and they are important to you. And that's going to make it far more likely that they show up when you reopen. And finally, have some fun. There are a couple things up there that I've heard that people have tried. The virtual pizza party, everybody had pizza delivered at the same time. So they got on a Zoom meeting and everybody had their pizza. Have a cooking contest. We're all cooking a lot more than we were doing about a month or 6 weeks ago. So have people post what they made for dinner last night. Take a vote on which one looks the most appetizing. And maybe send a restaurant gift card to the person who's didn't really come out all that good. Have some fun. You've got to keep connecting personally. You know, we used to get in the break room and do birthday cake for all the April birthdays. Didn't do that this month. So try and do something if you've got a shared space anywhere that you can connect with people and have some fun. If you think about what happens when you walk in the office in the morning, most of us head to the break room, and in my case it's tea, but you get a cup of coffee. And you kind of chit chat with people. What'd you do last night? How are the kids? How's your mom? What'd your dog do? We don't have that anymore. So do it virtually. Do a check-in at the beginning of the day. Doesn't even have to be every day. But give each person a chance to talk about something that's not work-related. It can be Zoom, it can be a Google Hangout, Skype, GoToMeeting, whatever it is you're using. Give people a chance to connect with you and with each other. If the coffee in the morning doesn't work, before you start each team meeting, add a few extra minutes for people to do that social interaction. not only are they missing being around you, they're missing their peers. So what should you be doing now? First of all, set the tone. If you have a positive outlook, your team will have a positive outlook as well. You really need to be listening to your people. Something may not seem all that important to you, but it's very important to them. And a lot of times, people just want to be heard. They just need someone to listen to them. They're not asking you to solve their problem. They just need someone to talk to. Whenever possible, use phone calls and video chats. When you are using email and text messages, you don't hear the tone of voice, and you can't see or perceive any kind of body language or any kind of response that you're getting from your audience. So if at all possible, use video chats. Phone calls would be the next level. If you need to send a text message, that's great for something that's urgent and quick. I need a response right now. Can you call me? That's great for a text message or an IM. But the rest of the time, use as many senses as you can. You can tell if someone's smiling over the telephone, but it's even better if you can do a video chat. The basic human needs, I don't necessarily mean food, shelter. I mean the emotional needs. You know, we don't have access. I know, Keith, you're very involved with arts in Louisville, and I'm one of those people really missing theater right now. And a friend sent me a text this morning that's a link to Phantom of the Opera that'll be playing tonight. So not the same, but it's one of those things that gives me a connection to the world. So make sure that people are finding those kinds of opportunities to ignite their passion or just try something new. All those people who have taken up knitting, God bless them. I think that's great. Not going to happen for me. But there are a lot of other things out there that can keep us interested and give us some motivation on a personal level. As you mentioned, if you can, try and do any kind of social interaction. I don't know that a happy hour would be appropriate for for a business environment, but maybe have a Zoom call over lunch and don't talk about work, just how is everybody? Some kind of social interaction. And most of all, treat everyone with compassion, including yourself. There's no user guide for a pandemic. If you find one, let me know. We're all winging it to a certain degree. So you're not going to get it 100% right, and that's okay. And that's one of those times where honesty is important, where you say, guys, this didn't go well. What do you want to do differently next time? One of the things I've been saying to my clients, a year from now, when you look back on this, will you be proud of how you behaved? And if you're using that as your guidance, you'll be just fine. So I want to give you some information about employee engagement. A highly disengaged employee, they're the ones that show up and you're not really sure why they're in the building. They will find every flaw in every problem and they will bring it to you and they want you to fix it. The disengaged employees, they're the ones that show up, they're there at 8, they leave at 5, they do, if it's in their job description, they'll do it. If it's not done, but it's 5 o'clock, they walk out the door. Your highly engaged employees, they're the ones that are coming to you with, here's a problem I found, and here's how I think we should solve it. So as you're thinking about this, you can probably put names in each of these categories. And obviously we want to move people from the red up to the green. I'm going to put some numbers to this. In the United States, we actually do a lot better than the rest of the world. In the United States, now this is pre-COVID-19. I'm going to be very anxious to see these numbers in a few months. 30% of our workforce is considered highly engaged. They're the ones that are rowing the boat. They're the ones moving your business forward. That 52%, they're along for the ride. They're watching the scenery. And then you've got that 18% that's disengaged, and they are sabotaging your organization. They are toxic. Prior to COVID-19, we were in such a tight labor market that you held on to those people because you needed a body. You needed someone there to answer the phone. That's going to change. So your challenge today is to keep the highly engaged employees still engaged and to move the others into an engaged process. So paying attention to each individual right now is a huge way for you to improve employee engagement. One other number I'm going to give you, that 70% of the disengaged and highly disengaged employees, our statistics show 34% of their salary is pretty much wasted. Put some numbers to that in your organization. If your payroll is $100,000 a month, $34,000 of that pretty much goes out the window. So if you can improve employee engagement, you're going to see a big change in your business. You're going to see a change in productivity, in turnover, and in commitment. So yeah, it's important. It all starts with you. Are you engaged? If you're the owner of the business, you might think you're engaged, but there are days that you're tired too. You're setting the tone. So make sure that you're engaged so that your employees will be engaged. As a leader, your employees are looking for these 4 characteristics. A leader trusts their team, and in return, the team will trust them. Compassion doesn't mean being a soft touch or giving in. It means I understand you're human. Stability is the real challenge right now. You may be freaking out inside, but you have to send the message that we're stable right now. This is the situation we're in. We don't like it, but this is what we're doing. And finally, your employees are looking to you for hope that we are going to come out of this. We're going to be okay. Our families are going to be okay. The economy is going to be a little rocky, but eventually it's going to be okay. That's the message that they're looking to you for. You got to be thinking about things a little differently today. In a way, this is the silver lining of COVID-19. It's forcing us to do things differently, hopefully with some improvements. I've got 2 offers for you today. Okay, I got to go into the sales pitch because that's what I do. One is that we offer an employee engagement survey. And this is something that takes your employees less than 10 minutes, just kind of gives you a temperature reading on the organization. And with the survey, I will meet with you for an hour to go over the results. This just kind of gives you an idea of where your organization is today. The other thing that I would offer is a 90-minute leadership planning session. If you're not sure what the next 90 days are going to bring or the next 3 years, let's sit down and put a plan in place. One of the ways that you maintain that stability and that sense of hope is if you have a plan. So this is the time to be doing that. Anyone have any questions, concerns? Did I say anything that either scared you or that you weren't sure about?
I've been doing quite a few of those things that you've talked about.
Good.
I spend, a lot of time on Zoom now, as opposed to in my office. It's been kind of a nice thing at sometimes because being part of a corporate office, our corporate office has Zoom meetings with all the other franchise partners, as well as some of our franchise partners have become a lot closer by Zoom. We do the happy hours a couple times a week and just sit and chat, whether it's bitch, moan, or complain. A lot of it is good, good ideal sharing back and forth. And a couple times a week, we've been doing it with our team personally, just
Good.
checking in, making sure that everybody's still alive. You know, they haven't strung their kids up or the kids haven't strung them up.
It's very real. You know, we laugh about it, but yeah, there's a lot of stress on people right now.
We did a Zoom happy hour last night,
Yeah,
which was
how'd
the
it go?
first time. It went really well. We people wore funny hats, and we had fun with backgrounds, and we had talked before. We're having 2 staff meetings every week, and so we talked about that everybody needed to choose a background that was something from their life, not movie backgrounds and things like that. So, yeah, I thought we would be lucky to go an hour, and we went 2 hours. So it was, it worked out pretty
Great.
well.
And
Yeah,
nobody has to worry about DUI driving home.
No.
Yeah,
We
my
were
background,
talking
I was
about-
in Scotland last week, but didn't put it up today. So it does funny things when I move. So are
But-
there any other tips that I can give you or anything that you want to try, you want some clarity on?
Well, no, I mean, I'll just share, I feel like, because we're a small staff and we work together, so this is unusual for us. We've had these kinds of Zoom meetings with people outside before, but I think we're starting to feel it, that we're starting to see some stress and some oversensitivity to email communications where you talk about how the tone is missing and how careful. And just I've become very aware of, there's just so many things that we find are more stressful or that we have misunderstandings about, that if we were sitting in the office, it would be a 5-minute conversation and we'd move on.
Right.
Because the direct interpersonal is so, that's what's really missing, and that you start to realize that after a couple of weeks, that's the cost of it, But otherwise, I mean, we're continuing to do our jobs and continue our programming and try to think with innovation about what happens when we come back. Because even when we come back, I think there's going to be a lot of restrictions with some of the things we look at. We just postponed a fundraiser where 300 people come into a crowded space and buy art. Obviously, we weren't going to do that right now. But even when we're back, you have to question whether that doesn't seem like a viable circumstance this year at all. So we're starting to look at doing that, trying to figure out some way to do that online, and still sort of get that event excitement out of it. And I don't know, it's a real challenge, but so there's a lot of that kind of thinking going on.
It is going to be interesting. It's a new world for all of us. I just, if there's anything I can do to help you or your organization, there's my email address. It's sandymerritt@actioncoach.com. And please feel free to reach out.
All right.
All right, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. And thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sandy.
Sandy.
Bye.